Boom! Sooners land a big one on the defensive line. One that not only is the player a big one, but the implications around him are even more huge. So we've got to talk about this big win with Jayden Jackson, defensive lineman out of IMG Academy in Florida. So let's dive into him. But first, thank y'all for pulling up here to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. We appreciate you visiting us here on the YouTube channel. While you're here, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We would love to have you a part of this college football community, as we're going to be talking a lot of college football, especially as the season's coming up. But let's dive right into the key thing and the reason why you're here. Jayden Jackson, defensive lineman out of IMG Academy in Florida, is committed to the Sooners. So we've got to look at his film. We've got to talk about how important of a player he is for what we're trying to do long terms. And we've got to go ahead and give Todd Bates and staff their flowers, because they're working their tails off for y'all. Told you all July was going to be an avalanche, and this is another one of those dominoes falling for the rest of them to come to line. So let's look at Jayden Jackson. But before we do that, hop in the comments. Let your boy know, what's your thoughts? You excited about Jayden Jackson choosing Oklahoma over the competition? Because we had a lot of competition for this player. So it shouldn't have came to any surprise to you all, as like a lot of crystal balls have started falling for him like instantly last night for this commitment. And so let's talk about him. Jayden Jackson, 6'2" about 295 in high school. He is listed as a consensus 3-star player, but Rivals has him rated as a top 200 player in the country, which makes him a 4-star. And so it looks like they're up early on him, and he is considered a top 10 defensive lineman in the country. And so everybody else has him rated all over the place, but Rivals is really big on him, and I'm going to tell you why Rivals is really big on him. His list. Oklahoma beat out Miami. We beat out Texas. We beat out Ohio State. Florida, all these big schools wanted Jayden Jackson, especially coming out of IMG Academy, because having a player like him can help attract additional players from that area. But at the same time, Jayden's a talent on his own. And so him coming to Oklahoma just, to me, solidifies a lot of other players that we are chasing after. But let's look at him. Let's celebrate Jayden Jackson and all the great things that he's been doing. And so let's look at his numbers. So you watch the film on him, he gets low, and he does a really good job of pushing linemen back. And so 24/7 has him listed at like 300 pounds right now. On 3 has him at 295. I'm going to say he's probably closer to 300 at this point, but he's got the strength, he's got that grab, and he knows how to tackle, something that all Sooner fans have been saying that we need. This is a defensive lineman you want to have in your class, because all he does is add additional, not only depth, which I think is probably number one on the list, but talent. Someone for people to work off of and build off of, and our offensive line to learn off of, because this is the type of player you're going to see in the SEC on a regular basis, especially at his talent. Coming out of Florida, IMG Academy, they produce a lot of players that end up in the NFL, and they end up at these big schools. And watching Jayden Jackson go, whew, the man can do it. And I mentioned this, the complete list. I mean, I was looking at the list of offers he had. I mean, Auburn was knocking on the door. I mean, of course, Colorado hit the man up. Michigan wanted him. Tennessee, Texas A&M, Penn State. USC gave the man an offer. Wisconsin was knocking on the door. So he had a lot of big schools, and for him to be rated where he's at tells me there's a discrepancy in some of the ratings around him. Some people may have not seen enough of him to really give a good evaluation, but I think Rivals watched him a lot, seen him in some camps, and he's out there cooking. And so because of that, this man is hard to push around. He's very strong, and yeah, watching the film tells me enough about what we're going to get out of this player. And so I need y'all to do me a favor and start praising Todd Bates and thanking him for what he's doing. Adding Jayden Jackson, does that change any of the targets that we have? Absolutely not. Adding Jayden Jackson does nothing but help bolster up a class that's preparing itself for the SEC. And so because we know that this will be the first class to play SEC ball, we've got to walk in there with our best foot forward. And by having Jayden Jackson out there, probably be able to do that. And as you see him pushing people around and stuff, that's going to be key for us to be successful going up against Alabama, going up against Tennessee, playing South Carolina. You know, that schedule is going to be brutal down the stretch long term, and we've got to have players that can play in their league. And so I'm stoked about us landing him. He's huge. He's a huge deal. And let me show you why I think he's even more of a big deal for us in this landing. We talked about this before when he was doing his visit here in Oklahoma. He's best friends with, David Stone, the one player that we've been asking if he's going to commit to Oklahoma and when it's going to happen. Well, if you watch my interview with Colin Kennedy from 24/7 at the Sooner Illustrated, we talked about it in depth. And for the most part, he said he's expecting Stone to do his commitment probably in August sometime. But adding Jayden Jackson, I remember when Jayden Jackson tweeted out that he was at Texas and Stone told him, nah, man, that ain't it. So because of that, it tells me that Stone was probably recruiting him to Oklahoma and said, hey, man, go ahead and make that happen. And bringing in a player like him can probably help out with the convincing of like Stone's mom and family that, yes, he should be at Oklahoma with all of us. And hearing that he's a good kid, that's a big deal. So hop in the comments. Let your boy know. What's your thoughts on Jayden Jackson? Now you've seen his film, you've seen his size, seen his ability. How you feeling about him coming in, Sooner Nation? We definitely want to hear from you all. If you made it this far, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We would love to have you join this journey as we're talking a lot of college football, and we're going to expand, but we're always going to have the Sooners near and dear our heart. So YouTube says to watch one of these videos in front of me. This is my interview with Colin Kennedy talking about other recruits that you definitely got to watch because, yeah, it's going to give you some nuggets in preparation for the rest of this domino and avalanche effect we're going to see with Sooner recruiting. We'll talk soon. Peace.